Hello, and welcome to Getting into Consul. I'm Rosemary. This is Cole, and we've been learning slash teaching slash exploring Consul for the past. Now this is number 8, so 7
Yep.
streams. Yeah,
Yeah. Quite a
yeah,
few.
yeah. I know, and it's been interesting. Cole, how are you feeling now that we finally got into Service Mesh?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I feel like the service catalog way that we were doing it initially was a lot easier to like digest mentally, but a lot more complicated, I guess, to set up. I don't know. Whereas when we got to the service mesh side, it took a little bit more to wrap my head around, for especially the console stuff. But in terms of setting it up, it was a lot easier than I expected. I feel like there was a lot less to deal with. So I'm really enjoying that aspect of it.
Yeah. So I guess we should commence with a dramatic recap, as we usually do
Yeah.
at the start of each part. The first is Cole. What did we do the last time in part 7 of getting into console?
Yeah, we transitioned from the old way, so the service catalog side of console, over to the service mesh. And that included changing around some configuration, a lot less than I expected, honestly. Installing Funky, installing the Envoy, and getting that all set up and running, configuring it, and we got to see some the Consul Intentions at the end, which really blew my mind because of how simple they are, and yet how immediately like obviously powerful they are, and like understandable. So, yeah.
Nice. If you would like to tune into part 7, we have a playlist. I will attach that into the chat, and as if you're watching the replay, you'll find that in the description below. Now, today, what are we going to do? That's a really good question. We're going to talk a little bit about managing traffic with Service Mesh. Last time we configured a Service Mesh so that we could manage traffic. We used intentions to allow and deny traffic between services and different service identities. This time, we're going to get a little bit more complicated. We're going to do some finer grained traffic control. And so, what I mean by finer grained traffic control is that we have a bit of a problem sometimes in that we want to send either a certain percentage of traffic to one service or another. Sometimes we want to implement some special retry logic, right? We know that a service is a little unreliable and we want to account for any kind of unstable behavior, and we don't want that failure cascading to other services, for example. Sometimes not something we're going to show today, and it's not really possible to, at least with Consul today, but let's say you want to funnel traffic to a second instance. You want to do something like Envoy shadow configuration. That's for more complicated use cases. But
I have no idea what that
yeah,
is. Sounds
yeah.
like ninjas.
Well, you know what? It's magic. It's magic. But it's a more complicated use case. So we're going to start with some of the more simpler use cases. And we're going to talk about how you configure Service Mesh today. Things may not work. Things are already failing.
Yes,
Cole,
they are.
prior to the stream, Cole was configuring something. Things are failing. So it's going to be probably more dramatic than last time. There will probably be like faces to desks. We'll see how we go. But
Yeah.
if you are interested in the more complicated components, you can always reach out to us and ask. But in this case, our main problem we're trying to solve is that we want to manage traffic for a blue-green application deployment, right? So imagine you have version 1 of an application and you have version 2 of an application, and you want to do a blue-green deployment. You don't want to just delete version 1 and then deploy version 2 out there, right? Because if version 2 has some kind of bug, well, that affects your customers or clients or users who are ultimately need this platform for something or need this application system for something. So what you typically do is a blue-green deployment where you have a blue version, which is in this case version 1, a green version, which in this case is version 2. You run them side by side and you gradually cut traffic from version 1 to version 2. Most of the time, I guess, Cole, what is your best guess as to how we control traffic between blue and green, or version 1 and version 2?
Through the proxy, I would imagine. Through Envoy.
But what do we do if we don't have a service mesh?
Oh, a lot of glue code and configuration.
Or a load balancer too, load
something
balancer.
like Route 53 through AWS and doing any of those type of percentage. But yeah, have fun with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that bad. No, it's not that bad. But if I can do it everything in one place, I would prefer the simplicity that would bring.
Well, remember, we talked about the history of software architecture last time, and how microservices ultimately sort of led to these bigger problem spaces. A load balancer, as we talked about before, easy to configure for 1 or 2 services, but if you have hundreds, if not more, of services, and you have different versions, you could have any number of versions of those services running, well, your load balancer would probably fall over. And it's not the most dynamic capability to control traffic between services. So a service mesh will help alleviate that a little bit. And we're going to use service mesh capabilities to control traffic between 2 versions of services.
Yeah, cool.
Nice. All right, Cole, what did we prepare, and what is currently failing in Terraform right now?
Right. So our business context here is we wanted to add a version 2 of API, and the quick and dirty method was a lot of copy pasta. So in essence, I guess I can go ahead and share my screen here. So if we just head over here, a lot of this was just duplicating the launch configuration, auto scaling groups, all of the different resources involved that were there for the first version of the API, and making another version of these for version 2. So pretty much the way to think about it is I just sort of duplicated it and then changed the labels, the tags, and the IDs for those things. That did bring up a number of questions around the naming of services in context of Consul that we talked about in the background that I'm still not sure on. And despite the fact that the entire reason to do this is to make sure that one API service does not go down, unfortunately, whatever I did took down both. So neither are working currently. And I have a feeling it's one of 2 things. Either it's just me, so a personal problem, or it is some mix up of just a configuration setting gone awry somewhere. So the first thing is probably figuring that out.
Yeah, so let's start with services, right? So the way we set up our Consul registration for services was that we set something called a service name, and the service name is web, and the service name is API.
Yeah.
In Consul, if you don't specify a field called ID, it will assume the service name.
That makes sense.
So could you show us the service definition? Here we go.
Yeah,
so
this
you'll
is
notice
the old version.
Yes, exactly. This is the old version. So you'll notice service name equals API. That is also equivalent to the service ID. Now, let's say what we did, right, was that we have multiple services now for API. We have API version 1 and API version 2. Cole, can you show us what API version 2 looks like? It's on a different virtual machine.
Yes.
So this is supposed to be the second version of API version 2.
Yes.
Okay. So you'll notice that there's the service. Now, I mentioned this to Cole beforehand really, really rapidly. We added this. There's an ID called API v2. So what happened was that because we had a service name in the old API config, it assumes the same name. It assumes the same value as the name. So to differentiate the second version, the API v2, we assigned a different ID to it. So what happens is that what this will do is register API version 2 under the service API, but it creates this separation. There's an umbrella, sort of a hierarchy under Consul services called service instances, and it will identify a service instance as API v2.
So it still sees them as different.
Yes. So if you go back to your console UI, what is kind of fascinating, because you have to keep this domain model in mind, right? So remember, console services are the top level, and then there's service instances, which is the sort of the subdomain model after services. So service instances denote services on different nodes or different instances of the same service. Does that make sense? Cool.
Yes. So there is the convenience method, for which we will not a literal method in any code anywhere, but we can refer to it as API, but under the hood, it still branches into another level of segmentation whereby we have separation by ID.
Yeah. So what you'll notice in the UI, and why this is a little confusing, right? You'll notice web has one instance. That's because you only have one VM of web, right? And one ID of web.
Yep.
API, how many instances are there?
There are 2.
Correct. The thing is, if any of the instances, not all, if any of the instances in API fail, it marks it all as a failure in the UI because the service is failing, right?
Yeah.
So something in the checks does not work.
Yeah. Before we blame it on these, I want to show you another error just to make sure that it's saying that the node is failing. So I could have messed up the node identity token. So let me just double check that was not the case.
Yeah. So what we did was that we have an identity token, and because it's the same, technically the node's different, right? So API v2 is a different virtual machine. The node identity is different as well. So we have to make sure that each of them still get their own ACL tokens for each new virtual machine. But we'll talk a little bit about the service identity as well, because the service token identity is a little bit different.
Yeah. Fortunately, I do think that I did it right.
Hold on. Is which one is this? Which one is it saying is failing?
The brand new one. So the one that I have the V2 service on. They do have different node identity tokens, so I know that for sure. So I've got them both open here as different.
Okay.
So those are for sure there.
Can you show me what in the UI? Can you show me the policy that's attached to 10, 25, 22, 31? Okay.
Oh.
So that's actually something different. That's telling you your sidecar isn't working.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not the node. It is just
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So the UI is a little bit. When you look at the UI view, there's a little bit of it's a little misleading in some ways, because if any, like I said, if any of the checks fail, the whole service reflects as failed. So
sweet.
In any service instance. So there's a little bit of like confusion there, right?
Yeah. Nice.
Okay, so
we can move forward then.
Yeah. So 231 is that so that's V2?
That's the API v2.
Okay. All right, so API v2, it says that the sidecar isn't working. So can you check that the systemctl status console-envoy service is working correctly?
It is not.
Okay, it is not. So remember from the last stream, we have to run the service. We also have to run Envoy proxy with the console config passed to it. And then we also have to run a console client. So all these 3 things have to be running on the virtual machine. If we're doing this on Kubernetes or container orchestrator, very different approach. But in the case of virtual machines, we have to have all 3. So Consul Envoy is the service that runs Envoy proxy. It is currently not working. And so the question is, why is it not working?
So the only things that I've changed here are what we're passing in for the sidecar for, but it is using the same token as the same service identity token as API. But as you said, that should be okay.
Yeah.
So
can you copy that command, that entire command, and then run it and see what the log message comes out as? Okay. So it looks like it's fine. I think you can exit and then restart it. I think we ran into this. I think it's There's a race
Yeah.
condition when we do the start and the registration.
Whoops,
I
I
think
don't
we
wanna
ran
put an
into this the
emoji.
last time. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, and then let's see. Yes, now it's working.
Okay, so
Okay.
let's
Yes,
check.
now it's working.
Okay, now it's working. Okay. All right, don't panic. We
All
good.
right,
We're good.
yeah, so
Okay,
everything
2
is good now.
instances. So if you click
All
on the
right.
2 instances, let's actually, okay, so you click on the service and you click on instances, right?
Yep.
Okay. You see API, you see API v2. Everybody
Nice.
clap. Yay. We have the
Yay.
first version of API. We have API v2. And we want to do, let's say, a blue-green, right?
Yeah.
First things first, do you have an intention?
To
You have
the
web
web
added to
source.
web. Okay.
Okay.
So
Let's get rid of that.
intentions, remember, allow and deny traffic between services. So
Yes,
we
there
want
go.
to
Let's try
allow
this
traffic
again.
from web to API.
Okay.
Save.
There we go.
Most excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what I want you to do is access web, the load
Okay.
balancer for web, right?
Okay.
Okay.
It's working.
Right. So if you could do the UI view, I think this might be a little bit easier. Yeah, on this service. So for those who are not quite as familiar, we have a web service attaching upstream to the UI service.
This is
web
going to
service
the-
attached to API. There we go.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is going to the second one already.
Yes. So we configured nothing, right? We just registered 2 instances via the proxy, and now it is going to.
But now it's going to the other one.
Yeah.
That's what I figured would happen if I just kept refreshing it.
Yeah, so you keep refreshing. So one is going to V2. There's something else going on over here. It looks like something's not being allowed. So it's load balancing between V1 and V2.
Yep.
So
totally.
you didn't configure anything,
Right. Nice.
and the outbound coming from web is load balancing between API
Yeah.
v1 and API v2. We just added the service, right? The service name is API. That's just what it is. But
Yeah.
behind the scenes, the proxy is controlling or making that decision if it's going to v1, v2, and it's just round robin between the 2.
Nice.
Okay.
That's pretty
So
cool.
let's take
Yeah.
a look at the config then, right? So let's go to the web VM.
Alrighty. Hold on. Let me get out of this. The web VM is here, I believe. Yes.
Okay.
And what are we looking at again?
Okay, so if you could curl to localhost 19,000 / config_dump. Okay, so remember 19,000 was Envoy's administrative port.
Yep.
Yeah. So anything that you wanted to retrieve from Envoy's config is going to come from that endpoint. We looked at the API one the other day, but let's look at the web one, right? Because I just mentioned that it's load balancing between the 2. So if you can look at, actually scroll down, virtual hosts, the route config. Yeah, if you could scroll up, actually.
Okay.
Scroll up. So if you scroll up, there should be a cluster definition somewhere in here.
Cluster definition.
In this massive, here we are. Envoy Filter, Connection Manager. Keep scrolling up, maybe. It's somewhere in here.
Alrighty.
There's a cluster that's API. It should say cluster is API, something like that. Dynamic active clusters. Oh, here we go. Okay. So dynamic active clusters. Remember API. Now that's internal resolution. That name is like it's almost like a domain, not a domain name, but it's a fully qualified domain name effectively. So it's saying the service, the upstream service, the console namespace, which we're not really using, the data center. Yeah.
Okay.
The data center, it's internal, right? That's just a designation. The cluster ID.console. So if you scroll down, you'll notice there's the certificate being passed. So that's where the MTLS piece is. And you'll notice there's a couple of other things configured as well. If you scroll down, so the load balancer endpoints, load balanced endpoints. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the internal listener, right, where did we configure to listen on 1990 or 1991? 9091 for web.
Should be
to API.
91.
Yeah, so somewhere in here there's a 91 config. Oh, here we go.
Right here?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So you'll notice there's the dynamic listeners that tells web to open up that tells the proxy for web to open up a port to 9091 locally so that it can reach API, which is kind of what it says over there.
Okay.
And if you go down, right, so it has a list of virtual hosts. There's some routing configuration. So everything, right, you see the routes match prefix. Everything, which is the slash, will go to the API cluster.
Yes.
Envoy API. Envoy cluster for API. There you go.
So does this cluster include both versions of the API?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. That's what because I was still looking for the V2 somewhere in here, but yeah, I guess it just treats them as the same, which makes sense because the web shouldn't care about that. Yeah.
No. So let's take a look at API v2 then, and let's see what the differences are.
So go to the V2 machine.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And what are we looking for in here?
Well, let's check out if it's registering it as an API cluster. You know, is it registered as a...
Would that be under the dynamic clusters area?
It would be considered local because there's no upstream, right? So dynamic is only assigned to upstream, but as a local cluster, right, it has generally speaking no awareness of anything else, right? So
I ran out of space to go.
There's a lot of config.
Yeah. I'm guessing it dumps all the specifics towards the bottom.
Yeah.
Was what it seems to be the pattern. Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot.
All right, so static resources here, but I guess we don't need that. So then dynamic. Here's that token.
We're just showing. Keep going. So we have the admin port configured. Keep going.
Yep.
Keep
I like
going.
how it's just dumping the logs in dev null. That's nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Then here's the local cluster.
Yeah, this is gRPC. That's the gRPC config.
This is right here? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Dynamic active clusters.
So that's the API, right? So API itself, local is 9090, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
So then listeners is what we're looking at here.
Yeah. But the reality is because you don't have, API does not care, right? Because anything could connect to API. Web is the proxy that will control, where it will resolve to, so to speak.
Yeah.
So in terms of like all the config here, you'll only see the cluster config for an upstream. You won't see a cluster config for discovering everything else.
On this one, or are you talking about
on
web?
This one? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because the only thing I see here is just, hey, send everything to the local app.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. So if you, in terms of debugging, and if you run into an issue and you're like, did Envoy configure this correctly? You check the downstream. So that's web, for example. You check the downstream if it can connect to the upstream, and you have to make sure there's the cluster for API, right? Or the upstream service.
Yeah, that makes sense. But when you are the ultimate upstream, right? The only thing it's going to care about connecting to is just the local.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. So what would be an example of like this gone awry? Like what would, just so I would know what to look for?
Not here, right? It would maybe be like, web. Yeah, no, not web. I guess web is probably a better indicator. But some things that I've seen, at least, like if web, if for some reason the local cluster didn't get updated and I don't see it doesn't point out like API, right? It says something else entirely. Then that usually indicates that something has not been configured correctly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool.
But staying here, it is actually quite important. If you scroll down to HTTP filters.
Alrighty.
Okay, so we talked a lot about intentions in the last one, but we didn't really describe exactly like what it's doing. This is the implementation, effectively, of intentions. It is using an Envoy filter. In this case, we set the kinds of policies and we describe it. We have more description, right, of what it is. But you can set any number of quote-unquote filters, right? An Envoy filter will basically control traffic between the services. In this case, In this case, we configure something called Consul Intentions Layer 4. That's an indicator that it is a Layer 4 filter. So from the networking stack, this is a TCP filter.
Yeah. And are the policies through ACL layer 7 then?
So you can do Layer 7 filters, which is what we will do. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Cool. But so one of the other, just so for my own clarity here, Consul intentions are basically just a nice little way for us to speak to Envoy filters without writing this. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Cool.
Pretty much.
All right. Sweet. Anything else in here?
No. That's
okay.
That is not what I can. Yes, not that I know of. At least not there.
Okay. Cool. So we've got both the APIs up. We're routing traffic to them. It seems equally when I refresh this because it's like 50, well, not every time. So what's our next step here?
Okay. So let's actually take a look. Let's see if I can figure out how we can take a look at the RBAC filter chain, because there is a filter chain that you can use. And what that will
What's a filter chain?
Sorry. Yeah, so you see this filter chain here, right? It's the ability to filter traffic between services. To get a better sense of intentions, there's a way for us to retrieve information about RBAC, which is the kind of like the mechanism that actually controls it. I just don't remember how to retrieve it. So if anybody in the chat remembers.
All good.
Yeah, it's been a while. So we may have to refer to some of the Envoy documentation.
Yay!
You may.
Sounds
all right,
funky.
go to your favorite search engine.
All righty. What are we looking for?
If we can go to the Envoy documentation.
Well, that's probably not the. Oh, well, I guess this is pre-release documentation. Okay, well, this is the latest, but do they not give us a way to quickly switch between versions here? Version history, maybe?
Apparently not.
We're on 18.4.
I mean, I think we have it, so that should be fine. Like, it shows it in the config. It would kind of be nice to show it being debugged, but I also know that's sort of this weird config, and I don't really want to go, like, weird config to debug it, and I don't necessarily know if we want to go digging into that right now.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. All right, so backtrack. So let's try this then. Let's go back to the intentions, and let's actually play around with the layer 7 ones, or HTTP aware intentions.
Okay.
And you'll see how it's different. So one of the things that you have to double check is that application aware intentions, aka intentions that are done on layer 7, require services that are of the HTTP protocol. The question is, did we set both web and API to HTTP protocols?
I think so, because then I'm pretty sure we set a default on the server config to just say, I didn't realize I was taking a quiz.
Everybody clap for Cole.
I would have been disconnected if I would have been wrong. I would have been
No, you wouldn't have been disconnected. Everything would have been fine. It means you remember this. So show our esteemed audience how exactly we configured it the first time.
Yeah, for sure. So this was in the original. Yes, right down here. We set down the proxy defaults to use the HTTP protocol.
Yay! Okay. So because we set the protocol to default to HTTP, this means both services are registered with the HTTP protocol. Excellent. So now if we go back to the console UI and examine the intentions, let's delete the existing intention. You'll notice it's an allow, so it used the layer 4, so you know.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
But we'll delete it.
Yes.
All right.
You can delete it.
Thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I would give it a couple seconds, but then we can examine the config for API again, and you can see if you find that RBAC filter configuration.
Cool. Yeah.
It may not. It may still be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does take a little bit. Yeah. So let's see.
Oh, it's gone.
Yeah. You see?
Yeah. I do.
So, I know. So basically, anytime you delete an intention, it removes the filter config, or it adds a filter config, right?
Yeah, nice. And this is how
Okay.
you can see the deep.
Yeah.
So so it seems like a debugging workflow here would be if you set up an intention and something is going wrong, go use the config dump that we're doing, because that'll give you an insight into what's screwing up in Envoy. And that way you can then spelunk through the Envoy documentation with a vengeance.
Yes.
Okay,
Precisely.
cool.
Yes. Great success. Okay. So let's create an application aware intention.
All right.
Okay. So let's create the application aware intention. Select application aware. Yes.
Yay.
Okay. So
What
now
service is here?
web goes to API because we only have one set of services.
Sure.
Okay. Now web connects on API, I think on the base path, right? It doesn't really do much.
Yeah, I don't think we set anything beyond, so it must be that.
Yeah. So if you add the permission at the bottom, let's say, there you go. Let's allow, so you can choose a path type. So if you drop down, you can do prefix,
cool.
exact, regular expression. So let's just say exact, and we'll only allow it to connect on /UI. It's very arbitrary, but whatever.
Okay.
And then all methods, I mean, you could choose get if you wanted to. We're experimenting. You can leave the header types blank for now.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
then just save it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So what should we expect to happen here that we can, so let me read this in here. This is saying that API or web can only access, hold on.
Yep.
Web can only access API on the UI path. Does API even have a UI path?
Yes, it does, but web doesn't use it, right? So
right. Okay.
Yeah. So click save.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So what would you expect to happen?
I mean, this is probably going to be wrong, but I would expect nothing to happen because, to my knowledge, web's not trying to get anything from the UI path from API.
Precisely. So you should expect it to go like great sadness and failure, right? So let's see if that is indeed the case.
So this still just works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any?
Can you delete the UI piece?
Yes.
No, not the intention.
Just kidding.
Sorry. Go back to the fake service UI.
Yes.
And then if you could delete the /. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, it's still calling it. Wonder why.
Yeah. I mean, I would think because we're so just, I could be wrong, but just for my sanity check here, we're accessing the UI through the console server, right? Whereas web and API, to my understanding, aren't using the /UI path at all with each other.
Right? No, they're using the / though. So because
they're using the /
right, because we don't allow /, right? So if you look at intentions, because we're not allowing /, right?
Yeah.
It should fail.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying now. Yeah, because, okay, that does make sense, because this is saying only allow web to access API on /UI, right? That makes sense. And there is no path there, so this should.
There we go. It just took time. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. If you could go to UI, yeah, that way we can show it. Okay. So it basically is like, no. All right. So let's take a look at the config now. Yeah, the Envoy filter now. Mm-hmm.
If we go up, there it is.
Yep. So remember, we had the console layer 4 intentions.
Yeah.
So console intentions layer 4 was the policy that console wrote to Envoy config. And its permissions were pretty much just like allow, and that was it, right?
Yeah.
Here, when you configure application aware intentions, it adds a more complicated set of permissions into the configuration. So you'll see there's a rule that says we can only allow the /UI path, and then based on the method, we only allow get.
Yeah. Nice.
Yep. So any request that comes through web, and then web subsequently to API that does not conform to said rule is then denied access.
Yeah. Cool. So question then. It seems then with the intentions here, when you go to make one, If you're just playing around at layer 4, it is just a blunt allow or deny. But if you want more fine grain, that's when you can hit layer 7 here at the application aware.
Precisely.
And that's when we could scope certain paths to the API to be accessible. Wow, that is cool.
So then let's go back to the original intention you configured for application aware, and let's actually fix it. So web only accesses API on /. It doesn't need anything else. So we can just change that to /. It's an exact path. You can configure a prefix if you really want to. We don't need it. From a least privilege view, it only accesses a get. You can even go for remove the all methods and do like super, super, super specific, which is get only.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So we'll save. And then now we know this takes a minute or so.
Yeah, you might want to refresh it.
Wait, what just happened?
It's sometimes.
Okay. I was like, where'd it go?
It's a little bit of a blip.
Yeah. So that means this should go back to working once it once it gets it all.
Once it propagates the config. Yeah, cool. You can even look at config dump and check if it propagates.
Okay. Yep, that works. Wow. So this sort of takes this, even though you as a developer would be better equipped to go in and understand what paths need to be locked down, this still makes it so you don't have to put this type of lockdown directly in your code. You can just do it right here.
Yep, precisely.
Cool. So where is this thingamabobber?
I think you have to just keep scrolling through somewhere.
Okay, there it is. Okay, so it looks like it's in there now.
Yep.
So we should be able to refresh, and there we go.
There we are.
Yay.
Okay. Cool. Awesome.
All right. Okay. Well, nice.
Alrighty. So that's intentions and how that goes into Envoy configuration.
That is cool.
Yeah. Right. It's pretty neat. So I'm gonna drop into the chat a link to the service intentions, but now you at least know how the service intentions correlate to the Envoy configuration. Okay.
Yeah.
So back to the original premise, which was we wanted to do blue-green deployment, right? We have version 1, we have version 2. We wanted to do a blue-green deployment between the services. There are many ways that you can do this, and the good thing is that we learned a little bit about how Envoy configuration works. We played around and we just dug through the config. Whatever we set now gets propagated to Envoy config, right? So the good news is the same kind of debugging approach will happen.
Yeah. So you're telling me we can do pretty much all this just like right here?
Not in intentions, no. There's a little bit more, and it's not in the UI.
Okay, that's fine.
You sound so sad.
It's fine. It's fine.
You sound so sad. Okay. So let's start with our original premise, which was we wanted to do a blue-green deployment, right?
Yep.
Everything right now is, for better or for worse, everything right now is 50-50. It's load, you immediately deployed version 2 and it just started load balancing, right? Which was not ideal. We want to ideally increase percentage to the second version gradually. We don't want to go 50-50 all the time. You might want to start 100% on version 1 and then 0% on version 2.
Yeah.
There's a couple ways to do this. Yes. There's something called, the first thing we're going to need to set up is a configuration entry. So configuration entries are configurations that you can add to Consul, right?
Okay.
For example, the service definition is a configuration that we added. The proxy default is a configuration we added.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so you can set these things called configuration entries, and what they'll do is allow you to configure parts of Consul, right?
Okay,
so,
yeah.
We're going to use a configuration entry called a service resolver, and I will be sure to send that to you.
Okay, cool. So this is going to be something that goes in that console.d folder, right?
Yes.
Yes. Alrighty. Service resolver. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So this is not current. We don't have this yet, right?
All right. Yeah.
We've not created this yet. So we need to create this. So if you can copy, so there's a couple different configurations entries. A service resolver a service resolver is a construct in Consul that groups and tells Consul how to configure Envoy to resolve things, right? It's literally, when you say resolver, it's saying, where should I resolve? Or what am I resolving? There's a
Gotcha.
lot of different ways that you can configure it. If you scroll down, for example, there's like filter on the data center, or the Consul data center.
Okay.
You can also set up a service resolver as well for two separate services
Okay.
that are independent of each other, right? So a
Okay.
service resolver is like a layer on top that Consul's kind of saying, this is what you can use to configure various things.
Okay. So these resolvers then are a control you can put in your configuration that lets you say where traffic should go once it hits this particular service, I guess,
Pretty
and
much.
just split it. And it looks like we can split it based on service, on data centers. We can do timeouts to make it fail over to other data centers.
Yep.
And then it's consistent load balancing, which,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
okay.
And all of this gets eventually passed through to Envoy config, right? So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
So this
is
is
a way to speak to
Consul.
Envoy.
Exactly. This is a construct
Okay.
that Consul is going to use to configure Envoy.
Okay.
So
Makes sense.
the first thing we're going to need to do is go up to the very top. We
Up to the top.
configured, on filter service version. Sorry.
Okay. That's too far.
So we want to configure two subsets, right? We want to use the subset configuration in the resolver.
Yeah.
Because we have subsets. So if you have the same service, we have the same service called API, but you have two instances, one is version 1, one is version 2, you need to identify and separate and define subsets using a Consul resolver.
And so that's why we have those IDs. So we'd be able to filter by ID, I would assume.
I've never tried it, so let's give it a shot.
Okay, yeah. So where does this filter get placed? Does it, because the load balancer traffic comes in through the web load balancer, but does the web client is that the thing that handles splitting the traffic, or is it still on the Consul server?
So here's the trick. This only works with proxies, right? So it doesn't matter. This is not a configuration we're applying to web. This is a configuration we're applying to API. So it only works between proxy to proxy. So it only works on the upstream service.
Okay. So the APIs all have to know what's going on, not the web at all. That makes sense,
Not
because
web.
the web shouldn't have to care. But the server doesn't care either?
Which server?
The Consul servers.
The Consul servers don't really care. I mean, they're just propagating the config out.
Okay, gotcha. So, all right. Gotcha. So when you wanted to do some sort of split like this, or, do this resolver, you need to go to the service itself that you're splitting on, as opposed to going downstream to one of those or going to the servers.
Yeah.
So
now you can apply this config entry using the Consul API as well. As long as it gets to Consul, let's apply it by API, and then you can see it. You can kind of see it in action rather than do a reload. So if you want to go to the Consul server and make sure you have a bootstrap token available for yourself, we can do that. We can configure it from the server, or you can do it even from your local machine.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I kind of got lost there. So what you're saying here is this just needs to make its way through the proxy. We can make how it gets to the proxy doesn't really matter. It can do it from the API, or it can do it from the server or local machine. That's really it.
Yeah. Basically, as long as you can target Consul's HTTP endpoint, this config entry will propagate.
Okay. What would be the equivalent of this for like an automation purpose? Would this be another file that we'd plop in the console.d directory?
So you could, actually, I don't think you can. We can try it, but I don't believe you can. I think there's a service config. In the Kubernetes space, right, this is something that maybe if you click on Kubernetes YAML, for example, in the Kubernetes space, this would be like a CRD that you can add, right? And, you just apply a service resolver custom resource. So I believe, I don't know. We could try to drop it in the config directory and see if it picks it up. But as far as I recall, I've always just done it through the HTTP API endpoint for Consul.
Gotcha. Why don't we do it the way that you're most familiar with first, in whatever way you think is the best first one?
Okay. Well, at least it will help you be able to take it, remove it, and add it dynamically without having to worry about restarting services and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So copy this.
Done.
and go to somewhere that you. It could be the bastion. Somewhere that you can access the console HTTP endpoint.
Okay, so I'm just on the console server itself.
Yeah. So I would create the HCL file for this. You could call it service-resolver.hcl, whatever you want to call it. You don't need it in any special directory as long as you remember where it is. Yep. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to change is name.
Okay.
Because we want to define this not on web, but on API, right?
Yeah. What do we want to call it? Doesn't matter.
API, I call it the same name as you have to call it the same name as the service.
Oh, you do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Yes, as at least the default service. Now you can set up a resolver in which it does not necessarily. You can set it up in a way that it doesn't have to match the service name, but that's usually for the situation in which you have you have multiple services, right?
Okay, so the name then is how you tell whatever endpoint you're passing this to what this is going to apply to.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. In a subset configuration, there are multiple types of resolver configurations and configuration attributes. And if you're using something like the subsets, it needs the service name and the service resolver to match the name.
Okay, so in other words, if this kind, like these fields down here are dependent upon what we have set as kind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So service resolver, name API, default subset, we'll consider it version 1. Because like in a blue-green deployment, right? You want it default to version 1. So keep it at version 1. Version 1 is just the subset name. So when you see subsets equals squiggle v1, that's the default subset it's referring to. It's not referring to anything like metadata. It's just referring to that key.
To this
v1.
To this bit right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. All right, so filter. We don't have metadata set. So we could try this with ID. Our ID is, you could do, I think it's service.id, but we probably should look at the filter.
Okay. Where do
Here, I'll send you a link to the filtering doc.
Okay.
Because it uses the same sets of filters, but I don't know for sure. So we will see how it goes.
Okay, selectors, service amount of value. Where are the different ones? So it looks like it has ID. Yeah, it looks like it does have ID.
Yep.
Because these are examples of the services. So can we just curl to C just to double check?
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay, let's do that.
I mean, I'm assuming it's there, so.
Yeah, I just kind of want to see the data structure in full. Although I don't have a bootstrap token set, so this is going to fail, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to probably set the bootstrap token.
Yeah. What is the name of the environment variable again that you set for that?
Consul HTTP token. So consul _HTTP _ token.
Okay, I'm going to try to be a little bit safe and not show the token. Not that it really matters.
The bootstrap token.
Okay. Consul HTTP token.
Mm-hmm.
Consul HTTP token, right?
Consul _HTTP _ token.
Okay. All right. Well, we got that there. That is still not returning anything for me. I'll go ahead and share screen again. Okay. So yes, I'm still getting empty. Do you know why that would be?
Well, you're using an API call, right? So you have to set the header you have to set x-consul-token in the header. Does that make sense?
Because it's not in the environment. Okay, yeah. Is there a way, do the console just straight up CLI? Is there a command to get this?
I think it's console catalog services, right? But it doesn't give you too much detail, so then you have to say really like list or something.
Okay. Is there a help flag here? Oh, there is. tags, to list a service, to filter service, include services tags.
Yeah. So you know what? We could do the issue. It's very it's pretty straightforward to add it. You would do if you do curl, right? If you do the curl command.
It was mainly
and
just
then-
it was mainly just not printing the token,
right.
but
Dash. It's okay.
whatever.
It won't do it. Dash.
Oh, yeah,
capital
we can just do the
H. Capital
yeah.
H. Yeah, and then double quote. X dash console dash token.
And then we can just use the
And
environment
then
variable.
colon. Colon, and then get the environment variable. No,
Yeah.
you don't want a space, but it's fine. I mean,
Oh,
I
no
guess you could.
space?
I don't think it cares, actually.
Okay.
Maybe it doesn't care.
All right.
I don't know. I don't remember. Yeah, there you go. I didn't like it.
Let's try without space.
Can you do a dash V at the? Oh, that
A
works.
dash V? Where?
Yeah, curl dash V in there so that we can see what the error code is. Oh no, it just can't get it. Pretty sure that V1 services isn't going to be the one. Isn't going to be it, right?
Okay.
Hold on. Let me see. Configuration entry filtering is going to be filter expression can filter on this as the help API endpoint. So you want to look at the help API endpoint. In that,
Okay.
You know the filtering doc I sent you? We need to look for /health.
/health.
So v1/health/ I assume checks health. Yeah, I think health.
Let's see here.
Health/service.
So there's health for node.
It's the health check endpoint. So let's do this. Here we go. Boop. Oh no, it didn't copy. Sorry.
Yeah. I think I've got it. I think I've got it on the screen right here, right?
We're looking for the service, not the node, though.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Here we go. Health service. Okay.
Yep.
And this should just be API.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There you
there
go.
we go.
You can JQ, pass it through JQ.
Yeah. Wasn't there that pretty thing that you could do with this?
Oh yeah, pretty equals JSON. Oh yeah, don't we remember now?
Yeah, I don't remember how
JSON
what it
equals
was
pretty /pretty. I think it was just pretty.
Yeah, I think it was just something. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there we are. Nice.
Okay, so service ID right here, just API.
Okay, so it's not service.meta. Wait, scroll up, not checks. Where's service? Okay, it is ID.
There it is.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay,
so
cool.
service.id.
And there's no null. Okay, cool. That was a long way for us to confirm the data structure, but
well,
hey,
no, you know, at least you know.
Yep, extra debugging tools.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we need to change this to exactly what we thought it was going to be. ID is API.
Yep.
But the question is now, what was, I guess, the other one here? Let me double check.
Yeah, let's look.
It should have the other one in here. Oh, I just lost
I
it.
think you just need a curl again.
Yeah, let me see it. So is it? Oh, here it is. Yeah, and then there's the V2. Nice. Okay, cool. Alrighty, so
Yep. Cool.
all right.
Okay. So then you've set your HTTP token as an environment variable already, so that works out really well. If you type console space config, I believe list, is that list? Oh, so yeah, list space -kind equals service -resolver. Now we didn't configure anything, so this should come back with nothing. Dash resolver, not dot. Right.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay, so it comes back with nothing. We didn't configure it. So if you do console config write, and then you specify space -kind service -resolver, right? And then you --help. So let's just like check the CLI. There's a couple of things you can pass through the CLI if you scroll up. The console config write, you don't need to set kind or anything. I just added the kind just because, it's like, it'll at least print out the help for you. But you basically, as long as you have that HCL file, you just do console config write. That's it.
Okay. And this is something we can use for any HCL or any config we want to pass to console in general.
Yeah, any config entry. So it could be service resolver. It could even be proxy default if you want.
Okay. So if that's the case, if this is the same thing that does mean that we should be able to, like, if we could pass our API service config through this should at least what I'm getting is this, that we should be able to like put this in the console configuration directory and get it picked up, right?
Service definitions, though, are not configuration entries, so it may not be the same. Like, it might not work the same way. Remember, because service definitions don't necessarily pass through as configuration entries. Proxy defaults do, but not.
Yeah. Well, didn't the API one go through? I mean, it goes through in the
API.HCL is a service definition.
Okay.
But it's not a configuration entry.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, either way, so this should be what we need to do here, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So wrote it.
So you can do console config read, and in this case, you do need to specify space dash kind equals service dash resolver, and then space name. You need name equals API. So then there you are, the filters. You cannot see this. You cannot configure configuration entries in the UI, as far as I know.
Okay.
However, if you go to the UI and you go to services and you go to API and you click on routing, you will have noticed there is a resolver here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And basically, it's right now telling you everything is going to default to V1.
Nice. So we go to this.
Yeah.
It should just,
well, it's not connecting, so something is wrong.
Yeah.
Question is what? It says 503. All right. Well, now let's go. Can you go not at the can you do not the UI endpoint? I just want to see what the error is coming back from. I assume it's because it doesn't know which ID it's referring to. Yeah, it doesn't know which ID it's referring to because it's just throwing a generic 503. Okay. Well, let's go to the Envoy filters and see what's going on.
Okay. Probably. Well, yeah. We'll just take a look at this one first. Okay.
It wouldn't be. Maybe it's on. Oh, it's on the upstream. Sorry, it's on web, because web would be the one that has the awareness of it.
It does? I thought we said that we tell the API about these.
We communicate to console, but I believe console configures the.
Okay.
I want to say it configures the downstream service, but I'm not 100% sure. So let's take a look.
So it doesn't look like there's anything on these.
It's not going to be filters. I think it's called routers somewhere. Is it routers? I don't.
Here is
filter.
Even more filters.
All the filters.
Yeah. If we go any further, we're going to wind up in the dynamic active clusters, but I think everything up here was just the general config beyond that point.
Scroll down. Is there anything else? Because then I guess we just check API then, but scroll down. Okay, so here, hold on. Scroll up. Yeah. Okay, so you see the SNI, that's the subset. So it is recognizing that it is a subset V1.
Yeah.
Okay. Scroll down. What happened?
Nothing. I would hope it's not actually trying to append V1 to its thing, and if it is, I hope that's handled. Do we need to restart stuff? Like I don't. Once that happens. So just from my understanding, we set a new config, and that config is the service filtering, and we told it, hey, here's two different versions as the subset, but we want you to go to the one with the service ID of API. And now it is routing everything to V1. So we've got that in there. But now it's just hitting a straight 503.
Yeah. Which means it's
So
not, what it's basically saying is that there's something about the resolver that it's not picking it up correctly. Or like
yeah,
when we did this filter, the filter is not going to quite the right place.
yeah.
Like,
Did we name something incorrectly in our file here,
I don't
perhaps?
believe so. Because the thing is,
Yeah, we saw
most,
what we thought.
yeah, like these two things, I'm wondering if we have an issue because the service ID is the same as the service name. But I don't
What do
know
you?
why that would be affecting it, right? Because the V1 service ID is API.
Yeah,
So I'm wondering if that is what is kind of causing some of the confusion. But because it's trying to resolve to both, but like the name and the ID are the same.
yeah. Because
So
but
yeah,
we're filtering based on ID, so shouldn't
yeah,
that?
it should work. But when it renders to Envoy, remember it's a different config. So does Envoy recognize it?
Yeah.
Because remember the name matches to the cluster. So our question is V1 in the Envoy config the subset matching to API or like where is it matching to? Because
Yeah,
service
that's
ID is a console construct. It's not an Envoy config.
yeah, that's why we were looking here
Yeah.
for
Right.
through this stuff. Where
Yeah.
in this would it give us
So
more information about this?
you can look for V1 and see like grep for V1 and
Well,
see
here's
if it
the
pops up in here. Yeah. So that's why I think it's
okay.
confused because
So here's the dynamic route
yeah,
config,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yet
Okay.
again,
So V1 and then it's going to name API. So I think it's a
yeah.
little confused. Okay.
I mean, the only difference that I see between this and how it was before was just this
Mhm.
initial piece.
Yeah. Right.
But when it
So the
was working
resolver
into
adds the V1 to the cluster. Now, if you scroll up and let's look at the cluster config for this.
which one? The dynamic one?
Yeah. So it should be. The question is, what is it naming the cluster itself, right? So this is V1, V1, V1. So it's passing to V1. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so this is the cluster, right?
Mm-hmm. So that's for the So
Do I need to go up more?
yeah. Oh no, actually,
Okay.
I remember now. The up more didn't work for us, right?
Okay.
Okay. Let's check API. Let's check API and see what the
Okay, the
config looks
original.
like there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't think I've done this on here. What was my command here? Yes. Okay.
So
And
is
what are we
V1
looking for
somewhere in
here?
here?
V1. Is V1 somewhere in here? Could it have something to do with our, I don't know why our intention would have anything to do with it, but.
No, I
I
think
don't see.
because the service name matches the service ID. I think that's where the cluster, because it will take the cluster name. It will just take the service name and map it to the cluster name.
Okay,
I'm a
so I don't
little
see anything in here
suspicious.
at all
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it.
Well, because it will do it on the upstream. That's where everything
Yeah.
gets configured on the upstream. Okay, or not on the upstream, on the downstream. Okay, so
So you think it's the file itself then? Here.
yeah, I think that the filter is. So what happens is that when you have the filter, right, when the name is equal to the ID, the filter, the service, when you translate the service identity to Envoy, every service gets created, every service that you've defined the proxy for, right? Remember you said sidecar-proxy equals API or API-v2. Each service instance with the proxy, its cluster configuration matches the service name. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kinda.
Okay. So let's think about it this way.
Okay.
I have a service named Cole.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I have a service named Cole in Consul. What is the Envoy cluster name going to be called?
Shouldn't it just be Cole, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Now imagine I have a service named Cole. The service ID is Napoleon.
Oh, okay.
Your
Okay,
cat.
gotcha. Yeah.
Okay. Because why not?
Yeah.
What is the Envoy cluster called?
It should just be Cole still, right?
Right. So
Yeah.
now what happens if you have another service instance?
Yeah.
Cole
Yeah.
is the name,
Yeah.
but the ID is Josie.
I knew that was coming. Yeah. I mean, it should still just be Cole, right?
So here's the thing. If I configure a service resolver and I configure
Yeah.
one to be Napoleon and one to be Josie,
Yeah.
which one is it supposed to resolve to?
Yeah. It shouldn't know because it's just if name is what it's looking at, it's just going to be confused. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think this is why we
But
probably can't use ID to separate it correctly.
I'm confused though because I thought that this name field here was just the name of this resolver and nothing else.
Yep.
Name of this config. So like this shouldn't, my understanding at least is that this shouldn't impact anything right here. It's these fields that are problematic. But if this is supposed to be working with this, does that mean that what we're encountering is just a lack of functionality or an actual like, yeah, we don't know. Okay.
So
what do you
let's
believe
try
the solution
something.
is here?
Let's try something else then.
Okay.
Because let's try what I do know works.
Okay.
And it's not a
That's
solution.
perfect.
It's not a 100% solution. But let's try it and see if this theory is that if this ID equals name issue is the problem, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay. So let's do this. Let's exit out of this.
Okay.
And then let's console config delete kind equals service resolver name is API. So let's take away this resolver.
Okay.
Yep. Just clean it up. Okay.
Nice.
So let's go back to our API VM.
All right.
And let's
Which one?
update
Does it matter?
both. We have to do both.
Okay.
Let's update the config for the API.html.
Okay. Oops. API. Yes.
Okay. So in here, let's do something very specific. Let's put the ID field in there. And let's call it API v-v1.
Ah. Okay. I think I see where you're going. Okay.
Let's see if this either the console filter is not working or what. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So let's try this.
Smart.
Okay.
Smart. So just making it so if we're gonna filter one but have ID on one, let's just make it both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't this mean that I need to change the console envoy configuration too then?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Yeah, because this has just so that's what
but like I said, I didn't say that everything here was going to work. So
I mean, we did put debugging in the title to be fair.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah. All right. So now I should
Yeah.
restart both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So we should be able to leave the other one alone then. Since it's got
Theoretically.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, duh. Gotta do daemon reload. Yes thing. Come on, let me out. Yeah. And then
Now, if this still doesn't work, then we shall come back to it later when we get some answers. But we'll try a different configuration, and not a different configuration, but a different. Yeah. We'll add metadata instead, because I do know metadata does work.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Sweet. So now we just need to change this one around to say v1.
Before you do anything, before you apply the resolver, let's just check that API v1 came up.
Oh, that it's just working as we expect.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can change it, but just don't apply it yet.
So just go back here and make sure this is back to working. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is back to working.
Yeah. Refresh again. Make sure. No. It not happy.
Well. It could just be taking a second. What's wrong? Oh, this is this one. Wonder why.
Mm-hmm. Check. That's why we always check. Always be checking.
Okay, so let's try restarting it again. Okay,
Run it.
so let's try running the thing directly. No sidecar registered for API v1.
Oh, did you reload console?
I did not.
No, you just do console reload, right?
Oh, we can do that there?
Yeah, because it's a service definition change, because we changed the service definition. Yeah,
all right.
We could do console reload. It's fine, we did it anyway.
There, so now
Actually,
we should
reload
be able...
didn't work. Reload systemctl reload, does that do the same thing?
What are you talking for? What?
What does systemctl reload do?
Oh, nothing. Okay. I like how you're quizzing me to see if I would catch on to that. That was okay. All right. All right, let's try that again.
We're just having a good time. It's just a day. It's a day already. It's a mood. Everybody, we're sorry. It's Friday.
Come
Something
on,
else happened. Did you check if console started up again?
No. Let's see. All right, here we go. All right, so this looks fine, but this is probably just critical because the other thing's not. So do we want to try our little, actually is,
well, it looks like it's blocked by your, oh no. Okay, well, so your ACL.
That's been popping up.
Oh, that's been
despite it working. So
okay.
Maybe we can try this thing again and just see if it does it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay. Okay, so that works now, which means that restarting this should work now. Yes. Yes, okay, so that is working now. All right. This node no longer exists in the catalog. Is that so, console? Why? Oh, well, now it's back. Okay. We're on 319 here.
Okay. Alrighty. So
everything's back to normal, despite us changing the V1.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So if you can go to service instances once again, and we can actually view this. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. Here we go. Go back to instances. All right. V1, V2. Yay.
Okay. Yay. So now we're being consistent. So we should be able to do the service resolver now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, go to the service resolver and then make sure you updated the service resolver. Yep.
Is that the only change?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then console config write service resolver.html should be it. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. And now what do we do? Okay, so this is here again. Oh, clicking on that doesn't do anything.
No, it does not do anything.
Gives it a little border though. Look at that.
Yeah, it does. It does. It highlights it, I suppose. Yeah. There's some other stuff that you can see. Well, if we get this working, we can see it eventually. But
okay, cool. Okay, but we're back. We're back here to this.
No.
Is that not supposed to be doing this right now?
It is not supposed to be. Well, no, actually, I don't know. I've never tried this. I will fall back to the thing that I know does work, which is service metadata.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. So adding metadata to the different service configuration files and then filtering on that. I see what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah, because we're gonna come back. I'll ask around and we'll come back to this and see if there's something we're missing. But yeah. All right. So let's go back once again to the API console config API.hcl.
Yeah. I just wanted to see real quick what the thing looks like in here. Oh wait, no, we got to look on web. Yeah. And on web, got the same result in here.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. It seems to be making that connection. So.
So maybe it is just that the ID doesn't work with that. I mean, I guess the example in there is just meta. So. Yeah,
it should attach an IP address somewhere in here, but I don't see it happening. So I don't know where it is. It's
okie dokie. So time to add some metadata then to our service.
Yep.
Okay, so begin with V1.
Yes, let's begin with V1. I will ask around. I am sure there's something I am probably missing, but on the other hand, I feel like this kind of should work. Okay.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. So under you put it at the same level as ID and name, for example. So
Okay.
you can put something. It's just called a block called meta, and then squiggle, and then
Squiggle.
yeah, right, and then yeah, just and then you can do something like version whatever you want to do. You can version equals v1. Yep, that's it.
Okay. Should we? You know what? It's working with the IDs there, so we should probably just leave that.
Yeah, just leave
Right.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you can do a console reload because it's just. Oh, did you?
Because I'm not in the thing. Can I just be lazy and just do a system restart?
Yeah, sure. You can restart console.
Yeah.
It'll take a little longer, but it's fine. Everything is fine.
Okay, so there's that one, and then we need to go do the other one.
This is the way. No, squiggle. Yeah. So the chat is giggling at my description. I don't. It's squiggle bracket. Just as too many syllables right now. I'm just going with squiggle. It's just not. There's very technical terms. What is it? It's a curly bracket. That's what it's called. It's a curly bracket.
Okay.
Square bracket, curly bracket. I'm calling it squiggle and box. I lost it.
Do I need to start Envoy or Consul Envoy? No. Okay.
Yeah, because it's just system metadata, right? So, or not system, it's service metadata.
Yeah. So we should delete the old resolver now.
You can, I think you can modify it in place, but it's probably, if we can modify it in place.
Which one you want to do here?
First, let's check the UI. First, let's check the UI. Don't delete it. Let's break everything.
Okay. Oh, well, it doesn't think that it's broken.
Okay, so click on services and go to API.
Oh, there it goes.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so if you click on, let's say V1, for example.
Oh, wrong one. All right, let's go back.
It doesn't matter.
All right.
Either way. Okay, you click on tags and meta. Okay, you see version.
Yay.
V1. Okay, let's check V2.
Sweet. Let's do it.
Boop.
Yep.
Good. Okay, so now let us go back to the service resolver and let us configure the service resolver in place, because why not break everything in life?
Oh, too late. I just deleted it.
All right.
Okay.
Close enough.
Well.
Close enough. Okay.
But here we are.
Yes, here we are. So let's do the original thing, service.meta.version.
Okay.
And then V1.
Yep.
And then same thing, but V2. I mean, maybe we just borked it. No, not API V2.
Yep. I almost fell for it. Almost got me. All right. So
I don't want this to be another DNS config where we forgot like a letter.
Yeah. Or a folder name. Yeah. Okay, so this should be good, right?
Yep.
All right. And then now we should be able to just write it again. Actually, before I put that in there, can we see if this is back to working? Okay, so this is back to working. Wait. Okay.
Well, can you just refresh it a couple times? Like, go back to UI.
I already wrote it.
How do we know that it's not just like?
I mean, this is the one I did right beforehand.
But it's doing V2.
It is doing V2.
How do we know? Maybe it's just broken to V1.
Okay, so let's get rid of it again.
Right. So maybe V1 hasn't worked. Maybe V1 just doesn't work at all.
You should go back here at some point because I just got rid of it.
Wait. Yeah. It's not. I don't think V1 is working. Something is wrong. You just deleted the config entry, right?
Yeah, just now. There we go. So there's V2.
But it's only going to V2, so V1 has an issue.
Nope,
oh, no.
There it is.
No.
Yep. It's going between them.
This is a puzzle wrapped in a mystery.
So what would you expect to happen if this was correct.
So it would go to V1, and it just
Only.
stays 100% at V1.
Oh, okay. So that is what should happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And did I type everything in here correctly?
Service.meta.version. Is version lowercase?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you change the default subset to V2?
Yes. Alrighty. So now I will write it again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. And let's watch this get mad. All right. Cool.
Well, how strange.
Yeah.
This is very strange.
So with that, where could we look for some sort of hint here in the logs? Would that config dump give us any insight? And if so, like what would we be looking for in it?
The config dump is usually what config dump you would usually see it resolve to the specific service instance, right? So you would see the IP address somewhere in there. It would tell it like, oh, here's the cluster and here's where it's supposed to resolve to.
Yeah.
Somewhere
well, we
in
do
here.
see the V2 thing here now.
We do see V2. So
that's interesting. That's never done that before.
Scroll up. Okay, so virtual hosts, it says API.
Yeah.
Route config. API.default.dc1. So that's about right.
This may or may not be related, but would the intention we've set have any effect? I mean, I don't know why it would, but
you could set it to allow all and see if maybe there's something that has gone awry with it.
Maybe we just like delete it entirely for now.
Okay. Delete it and then go back to it. The thing is, it's worked. It's worked before. You need to allow everything, otherwise it won't communicate.
Oh yeah. Duh. Okay, so just straight up layer 4 allow. Yeah. Do you think maybe? No, surely that wasn't it, right?
I don't know. At this point, we try everything. What?
That was it.
Okay.
Now it's only going to be.
Can you swap the default subset to V1?
Yeah, because now it's just going to V2, like only V2. Okay, so. All right. Well, let me delete it.
Maybe I'm missing something with setting up intentions, but I think I'm going to need to ask some questions because I'm not really sure what just happened.
Yeah. Okay. So now we'll write it again. And what we expect is for this to only be API V1. So let me give it a second to do its thing. Now it's pissed again.
Maybe like there's something I am missing?
I wonder if, so now it's not working again, but we haven't done anything other than just add this. I'm wondering if I remove this intention again and recreate it, if that will once again fix stuff. Like, oh no, never mind. Now it's just working. Yeah, it's only.
I think it just took a little time to propagate, but
yeah,
it was the
intention. The layer 7 intention was messing it up for some reason. Because now it's working. It's only going to V1.
Can you actually do something? Can you go back to the intentions? Can you delete that one? And then can you set an app-aware intention?
Yes.
And then path prefix. Don't use path exact. Use path prefix instead.
Path prefix /
And then just do like very permissive. Yeah.
Oh, all or just get?
Get. Yeah.
Okay.
Because like really it doesn't need any post or anything else.
Okay.
So save that. Okay.
We'll give it a second. Let me just spam Command R here. Okay, it's still working. So if we change this back to exact, then will this start failing?
I don't know. Let's see.
Well, because
I mean, maybe it hasn't propagated. Give it another like minute or two.
Okay.
Let it stew.
Yes. So it makes me wonder then if the ID thing would have worked.
We could go back and try it.
Yeah.
After we try this.
Yeah, let's try that. Okay. So I think it's been long enough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been long enough.
Okay. So let's go back and edit it and change it to
I'm going to put a note here and then I will
why was this all methods? Actually, oh no, it wasn't just get or that flips back. I swear we picked get
I
only
swore
first
we
time.
picked get. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. You
Okay.
know what?
We'll go back to
Exact.
exact, and then
It's
we'll
fine. It
save
doesn't.
it,
Yeah.
and then
Save.
we'll save it, and then we'll
Uh-huh.
wait, and it will stop working. So something about that is killing it.
Well then, we shall report this.
Oh wait, it's back. What the heck?
I'm confused. I don't know what just happened. Maybe it just
I don't know.
was brewing. Okay. Well, I guess service metadata works. You could go back to ID and see.
Yeah. Okay. Well. All right. Well, let's try that because the ID is already in there. Yeah. Okay. So
some puzzle. Again, it's a puzzle wrapped in a mystery right now.
yeah. Okay. Well, let's try. Oh. Let's try again. All right. And then we'll write it. And then we'll wait for a second. It really bugs me when I find answers that are like, well, it's usually this sometimes. It's like, okay, when? It's like, sometimes.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to ask more questions about it.
Yeah.
Maybe we just went kind of in the wrong direction of
so
sorts.
now it's not working again. Well, I'm gonna try what we did last time here. I'm gonna try getting rid of this and just completely allowing the layer 4 just to see.
Mm-hmm.
Bump, 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 save. And then we'll just give it a second here. Okay, so that is no longer working. Okay, so if that's no longer working, if this layer 4 one's no longer working, the layer 7 one should definitely not work, right?
Hold on. Blake is in the chat. So hold on.
Oh, what's up, Blake?
Wait, actually, Cole, can you explain what is going on?
Sure. So what we're trying to do is we have got this service resolver config here, and we're filtering based on the service.id, right? So that's great and all, and those are the IDs are there. And let me get out of this. What we did is we came.
Yeah, pause there for a second. We're not entirely sure if we can define a service resolver with subsets using the service ID. Theoretically, I thought we think we can because it's in the health check endpoint, but we don't know if we can. So that's first question. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll wait
continuing onward. Then what happened?
Okay. So So that was fine. Let me make sure this didn't just start working. What we did is we went back and we did it the way that we're in the docs, which was to change this over to meta. So meta.version. And let me just go ahead and change all this over because I mean it's not working with ID anyways, so there's no reason to stay there. Okay, so that was fine. Let me make sure that this wasn't there and then rewrite it. And we have this layer 4, so I wonder if this will just start working again. No. So now it's not working.
Take some time. I don't know.
Yeah, it could just take some time.
There you go.
Okay, now it's working again.
Uh-huh.
So I guess our only real question then is, oh yeah, and then because the exact path worked, didn't it? Yeah, because we went back and we tried it.
Yeah. So we went. It was not intentions, right? That's what we agreed.
Yeah. So if we get rid of this and then we just change it to the application aware one, this should work with the exact path because we did just try that. With just get save, and then we'll give it a second here because this will just take a second.
No,
There we go.
Okay, yeah.
So now it's back. So I guess that means our only question was, what can we filter by in these config things?
I don't know. I guess ID wasn't the right field. So can you filter by service.id? that is.
Yeah, I guess that's really the only question. Yeah.
Okay. Well, now we've done subsets. Now we can get to the actual thing that we were trying to configure, which is a service splitter. Someone pointed this out in the chat that perhaps because Envoy is reloading the config, it might. That's why there's like that intermittent, like, oh, it's not connecting. But yeah, that's a very good point. Okay.
Like kind of the case in point is the path we know is tried and true.
Yeah.
Is if you want to do these subsets, you should use metadata.
Right. Or some other
meta
field.
block.
Looking at the API docs, ID should work. I think you'll need to quote API v1 and API v2 because the expression filter might be attempting to process the hyphen.
So, I thought that for just a split second, but I really want to try that now.
Okay, so here's the recommendation. I'll send it to you. Boop.
Okay.
That.
Oh, okay. So we need to. Okay, we can't just use single quotes in there.
Quotes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Let's try that. I just want to see. We'll get rid of this one. All right. One more time.
One more time with feeling. There's so many emotions right now. So many.
Oh. Hey.
What is?
That was in the wrong mode there.
What is going on here? I see API V.
Oh, okay. Just give me a second. I will fix my mistake. Okay. All right. API v2 / thingy. All right. Yes, that is correct. So now let's write it. And I shouldn't have to change the intention. Correct? Like this should just do it.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So in other words, this should just keep working. But this could just be taking time to propagate. So oh, well, something changed. I don't think it likes it. You know what I do want to do once we change it back? I'd like to go look at that config dump again and see what the differences are when it is working. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it likes this. All right, back we go. So is the intention, I hope Taylor's in the chat, that should work then? What should we do? Before I change anything. Okay. 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 And then yeah. Make sure that all made it in there. It did. Okay, cool. Now we will change it. Did I change it though? I can't remember. I'm starting to get really scattered. Okay, I did not change it. All right. Yes. V1. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. So let's get and see that this is starting to work. It's taken a few seconds previously. So, okay, so now we're back. Nice. And now we shall take a look at this to see what's different. And where were you looking for? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It had the V1 in front of all this. Yeah. Why was it? So it's down here in this one, but it's not any of the other ones. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because just just for our own breadcrumb trail. Yeah, when we set it to ID, it was appending all of these with v1 to the front of it. In fact, just to make sure I'm not like seeing things. Yeah, v1. Okay, I was just seeing things. It wasn't appending it. So yeah, so what are the differences here? Well, I guess I could just. Oh yeah, you think it was that? Okay. Well, I have both of those for later. I can look through.
Oh,
to
I
see
am
the
muted.
differences.
Thank you.
Oh, you're muted?
I was like, I accidentally pushed the button that mutes me on Twitch. So.
Oh. Oh no. Okay. Well.
Oh, sorry. Everybody, Friday is just not been kind to me right now.
Well, it's working. We know that. We would like it to work with .id, but it's not. So how do we've got 100% of our traffic going to API now. How do we start routing some of it?
All right. So to the actual thing that we were going to configure, which was the service splitter. We need the service router because we need to tell it which subset it needs to route to, which instance it needs to route to. Service instance. But now we have to configure a service splitter. The service splitter is what defines the amount of traffic.
Ooh, look at that.
Yes.
I actually understand that by just looking at
it. Well, then you can copy paste and
no,
then,
I'm kidding. I lied.
Apply the config.
Help me, Rosemary. Okay, so that means that for this, I should be able to create a new file. We'll just call this service splitter, right? And then we'll go into it. Put this in. And this should be API. And then service subset. How do we specify that we want it to look at the meta.version?
Yeah, so we said metadata. Yeah, so remember because we set the service subset, right? We just, that service subset, that key, remember it was a key and then a squiggle and then a blob. That's the key you want to put in here. So we have service subset v1, service subset v2. So 90 to 10, perfectly fine. We can start from there.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
wait,
that's it.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm losing sight of what the actual file looked like because my brain is starting to. Let me look at it again. Service resolver. So, so it's using this. Okay, yeah. Gotcha. That key. Okay, that makes perfect sense now. Okay. Service splitter then is definitely filtering on both of those correctly. So it uses the key there. That's good to know. And then, so this should just start doing that correctly. Nice. So I can just write this now.
Yep.
Service splitter.htcl. And aside from me just spamming refresh on our
go to the UI first, please. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Go to the services and then go to API.
Okay.
And then go to no. Go to routing. Yeah.
Ooh,
see?
Look at that.
And then if you like hover over the little line. Hover.
Oh, look at that.
It tells you what percentage it is.
Yeah.
So,
nice.
Yes.
Sweet. And then if we do this, we should mainly see API 1 here. Yeah.
I don't know when we're going to get to V2. But
oh, there it is.
It made a small appearance.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's dinner going on, everybody.
Nice. Well, that part was way easier than the first part.
Yeah. That was that. And if you want, you can increase it or like let's check out the Envoy config.
So dump it again?
Yeah, dump it again.
Okay. Which side? Website or API side?
Website.
Oh, okay.
Autofocus. Okay.
Oh, nice. Look at that right here.
Yeah, see, there's like a weighted cluster. So you get your weighted cluster V1 and then V2. So this is under virtual hosts, right? So then it's labeling the subset, right? V1 and V2, and then you can add the weights.
I wonder if that makes an appearance up here anywhere. But I guess it wouldn't have anything to do with filters because those are just intentions. So cool. Oh, here we go. We see some stuff up here. Cluster. Interesting. Oh yeah, and then it's got both of them listed here. Yeah, because you said each thing registered on Envoy is registered as a cluster, so that's why we see two different clusters here. Nice.
Yep.
Sweet.
There you are. That's a service splitter.
Well, I honestly expected when you sent me that second link in the splitter that we were going to have another debacle around choosing the right field. But hey, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's blue-green. You can continue to go 50-50, 10-90, whatever.
Yeah.
You can continue to manipulate this from an automation view, right? You can do a couple things in this. So you can, if you're using Kubernetes, right, you can apply and reapply this config so that you can, blue-green using traffic shaping if you wanted to.
Yeah. So question here. For automation purposes, where can I put this file, these two files? Can I dump them in the console.d directory and have it do that? Or do I need to put these fields directly nested in the main console config file?
I don't know, actually. You could give it a try and see if you can put it in there. As far as I know, I don't think you can just add configuration entries to the config directory and then reload. I don't believe you can.
So is this something that would have to happen manually every time then?
Yeah. So you apply it. So there's a couple ways you can apply it. You can do it with Terraform. Someone in the chat mentioned it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Blake confirmed. Configuration entries cannot be specified in console.d or any agent configuration file / directory.
Darn it.
Yeah. But I imagine you could probably add it to, I guess, like a bootstrap config, right? To the client? No, that's only in the server, so maybe not. Yeah.
All right, well, I got some more step-by-steps to write up then. Gotcha. For some other way to figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, here we are. And there's another question about why the weight is on a different scale in that response. I'm not sure. That might be a console thing.
Yeah, because this is doing it in thousands.
Yeah, it's doing it in thousands.
Hundreds or tens,
I mean, weight could be any. I mean, I guess it's more the percentage than it matter. The percentage matters more than the actual number. But I do wonder why it's maybe doing that weight.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the service splitter?
Mm-hmm. Here we are. Do you want me to open it?
No, it's fine. I think weight can be any float. No, it has to be between. Oh, okay. 0 to 100. Okay. So this is interesting. So based on the documentation, the weight has to be a value between 0 and 100, reflecting what portion of traffic should be directed to the split. And the reason why it's in the 10,000s is that it's a eighth. So they're trying to represent the eighth. So the smallest representable 8 is 1 out of 10,000 or 0.01%.
But we can't specify that here though, right?
Right, because it's 0 to 100. So if you wanted to divide a bunch of services, for example.
Yeah. How would you do that then?
Let's see. What is the representable 8? Interesting. I'll drop a note in the docs. If someone can explain this better. Let's see. Smallest, I think it's because it's 8 bits, right? So it's getting mapped because it's a float.
Yeah.
But I don't know what kind of effect that has on the Envoy config.
So these weights can be floats then?
Yeah, it says float.
Okay.
Float 32.
Okay. So it doesn't have to be 90. You could just do 90.5 or whatever if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So I think it's then because Envoy's thinking in just legitimate integers then, and I guess Consul's thinking in percentages. So.
It's a good question.
I mean,
you're asking for. Response. That's not a. You can specify a set of config entries to be installed into Consul when Consul is initially bootstrapped. The config entries would only be read from the agent config one time at bootstrap. Any modifications would need to be made using the CLI API. Okay, so basically you can specify configuration entries in console.d or agent configuration. You can't specify it. Well, you can specify it in the agent configuration file as bootstrap, right? But if you did need to modify it, so for example, if you did need to do a blue-green and you're increasing traffic, then
Okay,
you would need
have to do it.
Yeah.
So just because I really want to know that for just later. So in this file, then where would that go? Just under here under Bootstrap.
Yeah.
Oh, I see it because this is kind. Duh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So you could drop it in there because the reason why, for those who are tuning in chat, Cole goes back after we've manually modified everything, and he goes back and he adds it in Terraform. So I suppose that you're adding the service resolver in here.
Yeah, nice.
Okay.
Sweet. Duh. I was thinking, this looks very familiar.
Yeah.
And that's because we saw it right
Right.
here. Yeah, kind, name, subsets. Nice.
Yeah. I believe you can also specify intentions in here too, because a service intention is also a config.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ah.
I'll drop it to you, and then you can update your app-aware config as such.
Nice.
As well. Yes.
All right. Thank you. Cool.
There you go.
That'll save some time.
Yeah. Anything else you want to explore? We could do a service router, except the problem with the service router is that we kind of have to do. Okay. Well, we have a little bit of time to do a service router. Okay.
We do. We can do this in. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
What is a service router?
So a service router allows you to route traffic based on like HTTP metadata header, like headers. That's probably the easier way to say it. Headers or path prefixes or something, right? So remember, when we configure the intentions, you can configure a path, exact path prefix. You could specify headers as well.
Yeah.
So intentions block the traffic, right? But routers will kind of tell you where that needs to go, right? So let's say you have two service instances. The intention, we have API v1, API v2, right?
Yeah.
Imagine we wanted to do some development testing on v2.
Okay.
We don't want v2 to be exposed to our users. The development team, we want to do a little bit of testing, right?
Okay.
So what we would do is we would set a service router that uses a header so that only we access v2, right? So you have to pass like a special header for us to test v2.
Okay.
Right.
I gotcha. So the limitation then on intentions is that it is block or allow, just straight up and down for everyone. But we can't really add any specifics like headers to control that. If we want those finer grain controls to be able to access those things, that's when we would use one of these.
Yeah. And then service routing, you can also specify paths. So if you had, if you had a V1 path, for example, if web needed to access API v1, you could create a service router that says API/v1, go to API v1.
Yeah.
Does that?
It does. I just for that one, that example. So like for that, it crosses with when you might use an intention too. So
right, a little bit, yeah. So no, because if you say imagine web. You told web. Web, you always access v1/API.
Yeah.
So then you tell web, if you path prefix, you can specify path prefix in here. If you see a path prefix of v1 API, go to API v1.
Yeah.
If you see a path prefix v2 API, go to API v2.
Right.
Intentions manage on the service level. Can you specify a service instance level on an intention? Were you able?
Service instance level, do you mean what?
So, for example, so let's do this challenge. Can you set an intention to just allow traffic to v1 and not v2?
Can you? I don't think so, because it can only be on paths, right?
Not on paths. Services, right? Service name, not IDs.
We're talking about intentions here, right?
Yeah, intentions. So if you go back to intentions.
Yeah.
Can you set an intention on the destination to v1?
Oh, you mean these areas? No.
Yeah.
You can only do it at the top level. Yeah.
Precisely. Yeah. There you go.
Okay. Okay, I see.
So-
So these are for finer
yeah.
grain when you want to go to one of those subsets then.
Yeah, so a router would
Okay.
be able to allow you to control to subsets, right?
Okay, that makes sense. Okay,
So that's where there's a big difference.
yeah.
Intentions are allow, deny, but they're on the service identity level.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Routing
the
is
oth-
for fine-grained control for different individual service subsets.
Gotcha. And so if we wanted to like put API v2 behind some obscure path so people couldn't find it while we're testing it, that's what we could use service routing for.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. that
So
makes
what
sense.
we'll do is if you can go back to the service router and you could go back to header query matching, we're probably just going to do the header. I don't think we need to go back to do a query match,
Wait.
but
So here.
if you scroll down, yep, there's an example for header query parameter matching. We're just going to
This one?
do the route for the header. So if you can set a service router and just use the route for the header.
Just use route. Okay, yeah. Okay. Service router. Whoa. Forgot that I can just make a new file. Okay. And we just want this second one here.
The first one. We just want the first one.
Or yeah.
I mean, we could do query parameter, but it's just, whatever. Okay, so the service router, we want to direct it to API. Remember, we can't do it with web because web, we're accessing web directly. We're not doing it through a proxy. So we need to do it through, we need to set this on API, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So set this on API.
Can I just for this, if we have anyone in the, I just want to double check this name here. This is just for the name of the configuration we're passing. It doesn't affect other stuff. Okay, cool.
Not in this case.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then what are we changing here?
So we want to set the destination, right, to API.
Yeah. Okay.
And then what service subset do we want to access? Like V2? You can.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So what this configuration says is that anytime through Envoy proxy, right, not normal, but through Envoy proxy, if you see a header called x-debug equals 1, then route to API v2.
Oh, okay. Cool. Nice.
Yep. Okay.
Alright,
So there's
so-
the way you test this, which is kind of convoluted. You can exit out
Okay.
and then
Write
apply
I'm
it, do a
guessing.
config write.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. So then what you're going to do is go to the web VM.
Oh, okay. Here we are.
Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to pretend you're web. So embody the web service, the web identity. Okay.
Yes.
So when you access API, hi. Okay. So then when you access API, what is the API call you're making, right? You're curling to localhost 9091.
Yeah.
So curl localhost
Yes.
9091. So the 9091 is going through the proxy, right? And then it retrieves API information.
Yeah.
Are you on
So we
API
can-
or are you on web?
I'm
You're
in
on
web here.
You're on web. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, when Cole curls, he's going through the proxy to get to
Yeah.
the API. Okay.
Yeah.
So right now you're getting API, which means it's version 1, right? But imagine you're a developer or you're web and you wanted to pass, you wanted to test V2, for example. So you can do curl space
Has the header,
dash.
right?
Yeah, add the header. So it was like x-debug equals 1 or some :1. Yeah, there you go. All right.
Yep.
And
There
you
it
get
is.
V2. Yep.
Nice.
So this has to be done through the proxy, right?
Oh yeah, because it's only on the proxy, so we couldn't
Yeah.
do this through the load balancer. Yeah.
No. Now
Nice.
there is an exception. If you had like an
Oh.
ingress and you put the header through the ingress, right? And you preserve the header.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
preserve the
So
headers. goes
right.
through.
So if you were on web and then you told the ALB, for example, to preserve all of the headers, right? And then you set a proxy, right, in front of the load balance. It's like not a load balancer, but an ingress. Technically, you don't technically do it through the ALB. But if you had it on the ingress, the proxy on the ingress, then it would preserve the header and pass that header through, right?
So like with the API gateway, right?
Yeah.
That's in tech preview. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Nice. That was
Mm-hmm.
also a lot faster than I thought. I was like, Rosemary wants to do service router 9 minutes. She's crazy. Nope, it worked.
You can print it out, but you can print it out and see what the config is. But you know what? Here we are. So one
Yeah.
of the things, we did find something that we were not sure about, and that is, can we use a service ID as a filter?
Yeah.
Can we use a service ID as a filter for a resolver?
Yeah.
It's a good question. But now you've gotten the basics of service mesh and traffic management.
Yeah. Neat. All right.
Yeah. So with that, we're going to conclude today's Getting as a Console episode. Cole, anything you learned or anything that's like, it was a great joy for you to learn today?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's just as usual. If you want to really get this stuff solidified, you have to tinker. That's really it. Because half the time it's like, oh, maybe something's off, but the other times, just like we saw a bunch of little hiccups to where stuff just wasn't propagating fast enough, which is what I think one of the initial problems when we were writing that first config file. But also just the more you run into these hiccups, the less you're likely to forget them later. So that was good. And obviously being able to quickly blue-green stuff and set this up in a way to where I feel like it took a bit to wrap my head around, but it's a lot more digestible than some of the alternatives. So it's nice to just work in the same interface here through Consul as well, as opposed to bringing in an entirely different service or tool to get this done.
Yeah. Well, with that, we are going to conclude today's stream. One of the things that I wanted to make a note is that this is the last episode for this year. We will be back. Just this year, the next month is a little bit busy for us. So we just decided, rather than so that we can give, nice focused time to learn it, we'll resume back in January, I think. Yes, January. So stay tuned on when the next episode is. I think the next episode will be metrics and observability, which will be fun.
Yay.
Yeah, Cole, you're going to have to close out because the stove is on right now.
Well, thanks everyone for coming along. Be sure to do this yourself if you're really trying to learn it. Watching only takes you so far. And have a happy holidays, because we won't see you until that time. But we'll both be at reInvent. Rosemary is going to give a dynamite talk, so be sure to check that out. It'll feature some console stuff and Boundary, Vault, Terraform, all the really big things. So look forward to that. And cool.